Good evening, namaste, and my name is Pragati Sharma, founder and host of Candid Conversation, presented to you by EdMonger. And today we have another very dynamic personality, edupreneur, Mr. Amol Arora. He's the managing director of SHEMROCK and SHEMFORD group of schools. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Candid Conversations.
Thank you, Pragati. Thank you for this invitation. Happy to be here.
Sir, I want to know something more and beyond the brand also. Since it's Candid Conversation, we would love to know about your experience on the very first day with your organization. What was the biggest emotion on that day?
So the way we started was my parents were both. I'll give a little bit of history. So also talking about where we're coming from. My parents were both researchers, both PhDs, were working on different research projects in different countries, moving from country to country, city to city. So I have actually studied in every kind of school. I've had my education in India and US, UK. I've been in a boys' school, co-ed school, boarding school, day school, Catholic school, Hindu school, government school, private school, regular school, special school, CSC, ICSC. I've done everything. So that experience is really helping me because I come with all that experience now in my work. In fact, that's my biggest qualification to do what I do. So what happened was on the first day when in 1980s, my mother was looking for a nursery school for my sister. My sister's 12 years younger to me only. Okay. So because she was doing a PhD after I was born, so that gap came. So she was looking for, and she was horrified. In 80s, nursery schools were not like what you think of now. When you think of visualized nursery schools, what do you think of? Colorful interiors, children having fun and learning, right? That time, nursery schools were called preparatory schools because children were preparing for interviews to formal schools. And they were just extensions of the formal schools. The teacher saying, what is this? This is a crow. And half the children looking at outside and they're wondering when will we go out and play. So it was almost like quota for 2-year-olds. That's how preschool industry. They were called preparatory schools. So my mother was horrified to see the kind of schools. And she said, I'm not going to send my daughter to these kind of nursery schools. She had done child development as a subject. So she had done the theories. She had seen my primary schooling, which was in England, that practically this is how early education should be. And she said, I will set up a school which I want for my daughter. And she set up in 1980s what was India's first colorful, child-friendly preschool way back in 1999. She single-handedly changed the preschool sector. And I remember when the school was being set up, everybody was saying, children will keep looking at the walls. What kind of school is this? Doesn't look like a school. You're painting the walls, you're making it colorful. And unlike today, where you have suppliers and vendors for setting up a school, that time there was none. This sector did not exist. It was just basically a neighborhood lady treating it like a creche or as a preparatory. There were two kinds. One was daycare and creche. An auntie would take care of kids in the house, or there were these strong quota type preschools which are known that your child will get into that school. So my mother didn't like either of those models, and she said we need to have a research-based, fun way of learning. So what we realized was we have to teach them through learning through fun. So in fact, I used to write poems as a young boy because I was a single child. Because my sister came 12 years after me, right? So I was a single. The only way I could express myself, not having a sibling, was writing. So my mom said, Amol, can you write us a school poem for the school song for children? So I'll not recite the whole poem now. But the last two lines that I observed that I get sad on a day when I can't go to SHEMROCK on a holiday. So because every Saturday, parents would show up with the children at my school and saying, "Dekh le, band hai," because the child don't understand the concept of a weekend and a weekday. So they would think I've got up and why am I not going to school? Why aren't you sending me to SHEMROCK? So this became so obvious. And sometimes in the evening also, when the child would have the afternoon nap, she would be used to that. I get up and I go to school. So why aren't you sending me to SHEMROCK? So in the evening, parents would bring their children on the bike or on the scooter, on the car, to show the child the school's closed right now. Tomorrow morning, you'll go to SHEMROCK.
So as I was saying that you guys are actually the flag bearer of good schooling in India, if I really want to say the words. because I cannot imagine this type of education 10 to 15 years ago. But your mother, your father thought about something like this. And this is the story. And therefore, we have found such good schooling in our country.
I wouldn't say good schooling, but early childhood definitely. Pre-primary, yes, definitely. That was changed completely. And so as I was sharing, I mean, even when I got a scholarship, went to US, my boss, I had working there, and my boss, after a few months, asked me to go back to India. I said, "Are you firing me?" He said, he was an Indian, so he said, "No, no, I'm not firing you. But after 6 p.m., मैं पूछता हूँ Shamrock में क्या चल रहा है?" He says, the minute you talk about Shamrock, your face changes, your eyes light up, you go into a zone. I said, no, but I'm just helping my parents. It's not meant to be a career. I did my engineering, IT, and now I'm doing my MBA. I'm settled in US. So he said, no, no, follow this, make this big, and I'm sure this will grow with you. So I came back and then decided to follow my passion after that.
Now we can see a big empire of Shamrock, I can say that, everybody. So moving on to the second part of the conversation, generally the name of a brand matches with your, symbolizes the idea behind it. So I would like to know about the story of that name, why you picked Shamrock or Shemford.
Okay, so Shamrock was in 80s. If you go back, there was a lot of trend of convent schools and Christian sounding names were the trend. So if you open your school with something convent, something saint, something, it'll do well. So my mother didn't want that to be misleading, that we are associated with any religion. So she wanted a neutral sounding name. Now so we decide to create this word. This word is actually created. The nearest word to this is SHEMROCK, which is an Irish flower, which is like it's like a methi ka patta. Okay. But we changed that word to make it our own word. So we could claim that we are the creators of this word. Okay. So Shamrock came from that. It came from it's an abstract concept, which that had a very nice ring to it, which we liked. It was international sounding without being connected to any region. And that's helping me today as I'm expanding across South Asia, outside India. It doesn't reflect as if it's an Indian name where it's something connected to India. It's easier to make this into a global brand. And then when we wanted to enter the 10+2 segment, if you see behind me, the Shamrock is very red and yellow. It's bright, colorful, very children-like. So when we had to enter the K-12 segment, you can't imagine a 16-year-old with red and yellow colors on him. They look very funny. Children, they look cute. So we wanted a more brand which was more mature in color. And also, if we put up this Shamrock word, the easier way would have been just make your school name as Shamrock International and enter the 10+2 market, because the brand is already established. But then what people would assume is, if I put my Shamrock brand on a building, people would assume, oh, there's a play school in this building with Shamrock, because Shamrock started becoming known, connected with play school only. So it's like saying, if I see a hotel and I see Cafe Coffee Day outside, I'll assume the coffee shop in this hotel is a coffee shop, Cafe Coffee Day. I'll not assume the hotel name is Cafe Coffee Day, right? So that's why. So that's why we thought it should have its own image, own brand colors, own identity for the K-12. It cannot mix up with the preschool. So it was difficult initially to create a new brand, because now you're working with two different brand building processes, creating awareness amongst people for two different brands, but it helps. So it helps in the long term. It was the right decision. So we wanted to create a name which reflects that we are from the same Shamrock family. At the same time, it's not Shamrock International kind of a Shamrock World School or something like that. So we took the Shem from Shamrock, and Ford is a crossing. So now we say, after the rock solid foundation at Shamrock, you find you're crossing your path at Shemford.
This is a very impressive and a very interesting story, Shamrock and Shemford. I don't know how many people know, but yes, this is quite an interesting story. I'd like to talk about a little about NEP also. So from 2 years, we know that NEP has come into picture and things like that. So you being a franchisee owner and of course as an educationist, what do you think is the very great part about NEP, and one suggestion you would like to give that can be an addition to NEP, or that can be changed to something else?
Yeah, so I think the best thing I like about NEP is it's a very futuristic document, and I like that. I think the real role of NEP is going to be, it's aligning the whole country into one direction. That's the great thing, and it is the right direction of where education should go. Progressive schools have always been doing that, following this completely. But it's good for everybody to be on the same page now as a country, because for policy making, it's not just the private schools, because private schools now have a direction, teachers have a direction, policymakers are now also having this direction. So that's the best part about NEP. Sounds like a document which is made away from the ground realities of education in India, especially considering that the challenges that rural India faces, the government school infrastructure faces. There's no mention of that. And there is a slight mention of that, but we don't see how we're going to solve it. So we're talking about AI and the top level things. At the same time, girls don't have washrooms. There's one teacher teaching 80 kids in one school. Only one school is one teacher kind of infrastructure. And there's a huge work to be done there. So NEP should have focused a bit more on implementation strategies, put some more thought there, because I'm sure this was a very, we're the best of minds of the country working on this. So that implementation has always, that's been always a problem with government policies. The thought is always grand, but the implementation at the ground level is hardly, nothing really changes the ground level. So if we had put some energies on actually, so it should be national education vision would be the right word for this document. But if you're going to use the word policy, then it should have really talked about implementation. And if you could have spent about 25% of time on implementation, it would have changed the ground a lot, make a lot of change. So that's where I see, that's the little skeptic in me talking that maybe how much will it actually start reflecting on the ground level. And so that's the little aspect. Otherwise, it's a good document, and it's very well done.
To ask for the people who really want to come into edupreneurial journey, who want to join this. So if I have a plan, if I have idea, strategies in my head, but I do not have the investment, or I do not know how to do that or take that first step, what will be your suggestion to them?
So one is learn the sector very well. Just because a lot of people, they have been in a school for 14 years, they think they understand what the school sector needs. That's not true. Just because I eat at a restaurant does not know how I cook. So that's the first misconception. And a lot of people who do education startups are either EdTech space, where they see a lot of change possible because of technology being a great leveler in terms of and allowing you to reach, have a great product, scale up very quickly. So EdTech, and of course, people setting up institutions as well, so whether it's preschools, primary schools, K-12 schools. So both the things, I think, one, please understand what are the challenges that schools face, especially for the service providers to schools. So one of the things you can easily do is get an educator as a partner, get a teacher or a principal as your consultant, as an advisor to you, who will really make a difference. See, the mistake people do is they set up something which has a lot of features, for example. But if you notice, one of the most popular applications we all use today, WhatsApp, it has hardly 4 or 5 buttons. That's it. The simplicity of it is so powerful. One is get your product right. The reason why Uber was successful was they had taxi drivers in their management team who told them how does it feel. It is not a technology company only. They understood what the problem of their other side was, not as a somebody who takes a taxi ride, but as a driver as well. And they solved both problems, and that's how it works. So one is that do that. If you're going to set up a school, please learn the sector as well, learn what, and be here for your heart should be in the education in terms of creating impact first, and let the business part follow. If you look at money, and that's the reason why you want to come into education, you will fail flat on your face, because people will see through that. And that's what's happening in the school sector. We see so many protests against school managements, people saying, I will not increase the fee, the school has hidden charges. Why is all that happening? Because the wrong kind of people set up these schools, and that spoils it for everybody. So first is get your heart in the right place, because running a school is not easy. I mean, if 3 kids come to your house, they turn the whole house upside down. Imagine 300 children in a building. Things will go wrong. And if your heart is, if you why you want to open a school is very high, you'll overcome these challenges. Yeah, today people really hype up things like, oh, I've got a great idea, and I'm not going to tell anybody about it because somebody copied it. Ideas are everywhere. Implementation is what counts. So can you implement quickly, figure out how to do it, get a partner on board, be passionate about your product. If you're passionate, people will come with the money and they'll join you. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, then be an entrepreneur. Think of the cash flows. Where will the money come from? You are responsible for people's salaries. Their households are dependent on you. You cannot be just wavering about your commitment. It's a big commitment to be an entrepreneur, because you're taking responsibility of others' families as well, not just your own. So unless you have a clarity of that, please don't come into entrepreneurship. I'm not trying to discourage, Pragati. I know you said we should motivate people, but giving an overall rosy picture is not going to help. Be
Actually,
realistic about it.
showing the truth.
And
Truth is also important.
yes,
In this. So, sir, I was just, going through the entire Shamrock and Shamford history and things, and then I happened to see one of the endeavors which you are doing. It's homeschooling. Obviously, the viewers will also love to listen about that concept and that future endeavor of yours.
what happened was the first year of the COVID when schools were not working. So what we thought was the mistake people were making was they were replicating the physical school online. So and Zoom had a 40-minute free account. So 40-minute period, 40-minute Zoom account, are badhiya. And everybody started using those 40 minutes and started replicating the same lesson plans the way they were teaching online. And parents were saying we're not getting value, children are not learning. For younger children, that's too much screen time, 2-3 hours. It was not good for them. There we made what was like a buffet for parents, where you can pick and choose. So we had storytelling sessions, parenting sessions, coaching, parent-teacher meetings, small classes, daily activities, ideas for every day. So we made kind of a buffet of parents, some live classes, extra hobby classes. And we told the parents, take a free trial of the whole buffet, and then you choose what you like. So it's like going to a restaurant, you look at the menu and say, the owner says, taste everything, then place an order. Right? So, and you pay for whatever you like. So parents loved that. And the first year, it was mostly we were thinking, oh, this is just a temporary thing till schools reopen. In April last year, what happened was almost all the parents said, we want to pay for the whole year. The reason, and that was just before Delta. And we said, why? Schools are reopening now in February, March 21. They said, we love this. Even when schools reopen, we are paying you so that you are forced to continue these classes. We want our children to keep attending this program, even when schools reopen. So I thought, oh my God, what have we've done something different here. So every class was like a performance. There was a music, the background, there was a meeting. It's like a TV program. So there was script, a structure, a music, somebody playing the background music, somebody checking the quality. That is the teacher interacting with every child equally. Is every child's camera on? Somebody else was doing that while one teacher was presenting. After the sessions, we had to have meetings. What are the areas of improvement? So we refined this program continuously. At all aspects, the whole buffet was improved micro level. And after a year, this is what parents got. So we spun this off into a different program, which is its own brand called EduMax. So in villages, those people don't have access to this quality of teaching, and so they love it. In big cities, for them to go for extracurricular activities, all this is expensive. Of course, the COVID thing was always there. But metro cities, it was more about affordable, a really good package at a very affordable price. For small towns, it became access to teachers, which they would otherwise have to move to a city to get this kind of teachers for their child. So that's why we started getting, and even now the enrollments are still growing in that program, even though schools have opened all over India.
That's very, very impressive, actually. And especially that part that rural India can also access that beautiful program. Okay, so book or documentary?
Book.
Power, fame, money, arrange them in an order you prefer.
Yeah. Fame, power, money.
Okay, where do you want to go if I give you a time machine?
I'm happy where I am. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm really happy where I am.
Where can I find you on a weekday after 6 p.m.?
On a weekday after 6 p.m., you'll find me at home with my son, or maybe recording a YouTube video.
Okay. Most fun activity you do with your family?
As a family, either going to the malls, or if it's indoor, we're playing some card game.
Thank you so much, viewers, and thank you so much, sir, for taking out this much time and sharing each and everything about SHEMFORD and SHEMROCK with us. We love the concept of EduMax, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. And thank you, sir.